So total cost of ownership is something broader than just cost reduction.
Total cost of ownership is so much more than only the price of the product. It's also the processes, the cost around the supply chain, the cost around the logistics.
What we do, we consolidate orders. We serve a lot of different customers, so by taking or buying the overall demand we get, by combining it, we leverage economy of scales at our suppliers. So that gives us a cost benefit from a procurement point of view.
We basically link sourcing services to supply chain services to logistics services to make sure that the total cost of building that machine is reduced.
This is Til Supply Conductors, a specialist podcast about integrated supply chain management. We are using thousands of chips per day integrated in all our devices and machines around us. And of course, we rely on top-notch medical devices when we need them in life. It's just two examples. The industry chain that goes behind all this is a very complex business. In this podcast, I will ask the specialist of Mac45, a Dutch supply chain company, to open and present this world to me. My name is Maarten Bouwhuis, and this is Til Supply Conductors. With me here today, Bauke Zeinstra, CEO of Mac45, and Dennis Halberstadt, project manager of Mac45. Gentlemen, warm welcome again. In our first episode, we talked about the complexity of your business. Achieving cost reductions for your customers must be hard. However, in this complexity, it is needed as well. Why, Bauke?
Well, Maarten, you know that during the COVID pandemic, everything was around lead times. Everything was about availability of the products.
Yeah, we were waiting months for products.
months
Years.
and lead times were very long, and we had to secure the support to our customers by making the parts available. Nowadays, after pandemic, the supply chains are back on track. And the boardroom discussions with our customers are more around reducing total cost of ownership rather than availability of the products.
So total cost of ownership is something broader than just cost reduction.
Obviously, because cost reduction is usually linked to lower prices of products, but total cost of ownership is so much more than only the price of the product. It's also the processes, the cost around the supply chain, the cost around the logistics.
And in what way is it still about availability? Are there no availability issues anymore?
There are still availability issues. Material shortage is still there, but it's easier to manage at this moment in time.
Yeah. And lead times, availability and longer lead times, that lead times are solved in a way or...
Lead times are getting shorter.
Yeah.
Supply chains are getting more
because
in control.
We still have some geopolitical issues in the world.
Yes.
Which can influence lead times.
Yes.
For example, ships that goes around Africa.
Or Houthis
that's
shooting
at
ships.
Yeah.
Yes, obviously we have these type of challenges, but it's easier to manage than during the COVID pandemics because then much more blockage was there.
Mm-hmm. But your conversation with the boardroom and in the boardroom, does it feel like you're back in 2019?
It feels like we're back on track. I would not say we're back in time. We're back on track.
Yeah. So for Mac45, the COVID pandemic with all those issues was a complex time.
Yes, it was a complex time, but we are very proud of what our associates and our staff did during the COVID pandemic. And basically, we did not have any customer with production stops, and that was quite a challenge.
Yeah. So now there's a focus on TCO, total cost of ownership.
Correct.
And how does this impact this Til Supply? Because in our first episode, we talked about Til Supply, about C-parts, that's what you do. You're managing that, integrated, as you call it.
Yes.
How does this this trend about focus on TCO influence the Til Supply?
Well, our customers are challenged. They are in a very competitive environment. So they're constantly challenged also by their customers on lower pricing of their products. So that discussion always obviously finds a way into their inbound supply chain. And therefore, they are discussing more and more total cost of ownership of their supply chain. And we are a part of that service.
And they have an issue of an increase of costs of maybe labor, maybe raw materials.
Yes, obviously the supply chains and the products in these supply chains are also part of a global pricing structure. So we have trade wars, we have raw material prices going up, we see labor costs going up, and at the end of the day, also cost of capital is going up. So also the suppliers of our customers are faced with higher inflation in pricing of their products.
But what is the paradox here then? So the boardrooms are focusing on total cost of ownership in a world where most of the costs are increasing.
Yeah, that's quite a paradox. They have to basically manage their customers, and they obviously translate that to the discussion that we have with them in the boardroom.
Is they want to? What do they want to achieve? Do they want to achieve that the costs of our business are rising, but we want to stop the rising, or we don't want it to go too fast? Is that what it is, or do they really want a lower total cost of ownership? Because that seems almost impossible if all the costs around you are going up.
That's the thing you have to manage. So that's why they're looking for a service provider who can help them to lower the total cost of ownership. And we are such a service provider. So we basically link sourcing services to supply chain services to logistics services to make sure that the total cost of building that machine is reduced.
Yeah. And what is the part that you do if you look at the big machines in high-tech industry that you're making? Is it 10% or 5 or 20?
That all depends on obviously how much of engagement we have with our customers.
Yeah, that differs.
But usually in between 5 to 10% of the total cost of the machine is in C parts, as they call it. Yeah, that's the parts that we supply.
Well, that's significant if you can lower that.
It's significant if you look at the value of the total machine, yes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We're talking millions here. How can Mac45 manage this all then, Dennis?
Yeah.
How does it go in practice?
What you meant, right?
Because Bauke is sitting in the boardroom, but you are sitting...
Indeed. In the field, in the operations. Now, how can we manage that? The first thing is, like you mentioned, our customers would like to see costs going down. And then typically they are focused on the purchase price of our items. So we need to offset, let's say, those. What we do, we consolidate orders. We serve a lot of different customers. So by taking or buying the overall demand we get by combining it, we leverage economy of scales at our suppliers. So that gives us a cost benefit from a procurement point of view.
So because you have lots of customers, you try to work on the buying volume then?
Correct.
Oh, interesting.
Next to that, we are also looking for cost alternative products. So are there products out there which do have a lower price? Beyond that, there's also, like mentioned in our previous podcast, right? Supply chains are getting more and more global. So we are looking for local sourced solutions as well that will save transit costs, which is at the end of the day also a TCO saving for our customers. Another thing we are doing is, we call it optimized buying volume. What does that mean? We buy parts we identify parts based on a risk profile. That means an item, for instance, which is used in a whole platform of machines. So the likelihood that item will go end of life in the next 2 years is very low. So we buy a 2-year volume to, again, leverage economy of scales.
Oh, that's what you explained in the first episode. Try to consult your customers as well, help them. And you know when some part has an end of life.
Correct. Yeah, we
so you can participate on that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But this is all from a sourcing point of view. Yeah, as integrated suppliers about total cost of ownership, we are also looking into the process. So what saving can we bring there? For instance, we set up EDI connections with our suppliers and also with our customers. So electronic data exchange or interchange, which lowers the cost per order line by roughly 40%. So that's a huge cost reduction as well. What we do as well, and that's something completely different, we also look at the processes of our customers. What does that mean? For instance, the manufacturing processes. So we set up supplier events, where we do invite suppliers to come over to our customer premises. By coming over the suppliers at our customers, they will show the new technologies. So our customers will get exposed to those. And by implementing those technologies, they can lower their production cost. A very concrete example there, for instance, cutting tools. So when they show the new innovations, they can extend the tooling lifetime, for instance. So you can manufacture more products with the same tool.
Well, that makes you a marketing machine for your suppliers as well.
To some extent, yes.
That's interesting.
No, it's definitely also for them beneficial because they get the possibility to speak to their end customers, where they are typically supplying parts to their, let's say, to distributors, but we invite them to the end customers as well.
And trying to do more local sourcing, because that's one of the examples you mentioned. Of course, that helps in trade costs. But on the other hand, you want to have the right quality of the product. So there you try to find new suppliers, but you have to work on their quality then as well.
We clearly do have supplier audits, but what I meant is that we are working with global companies who do have manufacturing locations all over the globe. So in essence, they supply the same quality of products because the products are the same. So as opposed to, for instance, sourcing a product in Europe, which finally goes to our customer in the US, we are looking for manufacturing source in the US instead. Yeah.
And that helps concerning the trade regulations as well.
Yes.
So there's a tax advantage. That's not the issue.
That's not so much the issue. Okay. No, let's not forget to add to what Dennis said is that if the supply chains get really long, like in the COVID days, stocks build up. So everybody is getting a sort of insurance policy by building up their stocks. If we can make sure that the supply chains get shorter, local supply, we can also help our customers to reduce stocks. And in saying that, also reduce their net working capital, obviously. And capital is quite expensive these days.
Yeah. However, we learned from the COVID pandemic that it might help us to have a little bit more stock than we had before.
Yes, but
because it seems that when the pandemic hits us, we had an issue because we had no stock of almost everything.
Yeah, but that kind of insurance policy is now basically behind us.
Is there then a change in the vision of bigger companies on how they manage their stock? For example?
They know they need to optimize their stocks, Maarten. There's no use in having 3 or 4 years of production availability in your warehouse. Mm-hmm. So they basically ask us to help them manage their stocks to an optimized level. And let's say we have a full department of very, very clever guys from all kinds of universities, managing these kinds of logistics stock buildups. Yes.
And this is being done at a quarterly cadence. So we receive forecast update from our customers, and based on that, we do the logistics analysis to make sure that the stock levels will be optimized to the future needs our customers do have.
Yeah. And what can you achieve? Getting back at the beginning of our conversation, total cost of ownership, trying to reduce that. Is it 20% or 15% or 10 or?
It's always a question that obviously new customers or to be onboarded customers always ask, what's gonna be? Is it gonna be 5% or 10%?
That's why you were laughing about my question.
Yeah, but it obviously all depends on how efficient are your processes. Yeah. When we come in, we do a scan, we do a full scan of their processes, of their stocks, of their supply chain, and that total package. That ensures whether you have 5% or 10%.
If there's a lot of low-hanging fruit, then it's easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
It depends on
how...
how...
it's a really efficient plant or site.
Yeah.
It is.
How good did you do your job yourself?
That is nice.
And if not, then we get...
And I understand it's a continuum process.
Definitely, yeah. It's continuously looking for improvements. And when we go into integrate supply with our customers, like I mentioned also in the previous podcast, it's a long-term partnership we are working. So we are constantly collaborating with our customers and constantly looking for enhancements to optimize things.
Thank you, Bauke and Dennis. This was the podcast Till Supply Conductors. Our next episode of this podcast, I will take a deep dive into sustainability and ESG, specifically in the high-tech industry. Take a look on the website of MEC45 for more detailed information. My name is Maarten Bouwhuis. Thank you for watching and listening.